reactions, and we are like halfway through the year, so certainly we have people that have some pretty interesting opinions on some of the things going on in the world of basketball. So let's start with our first one. Inside the Big Ten from CBB Picks Daily, he says that Illinois is the most complete team in the country and a favorite to make the Final Four. Certainly, Brad Underwood has done an incredible job of elevating the expectation for this program, but are they, Matt McCall, the most complete team in college basketball?
The complete, like to say they're the most complete team in college basketball, I don't know if we can say that. I think Illinois can win a national championship. I really believe that. I'm looking at the Big Ten, and I'm looking at Michigan State, Michigan, and Illinois. I think that they're the top tier of the Big Ten. That they're in my top tier. I think Nebraska's getting slept on a little bit with what they've done and their resume. I think Nebraska's being slept on, but I think Illinois can win it all. And Brad Underwood, as a coach, continues to not be set in his ways. To me, that's the most impressive thing about Coach Underwood. It's not, hey, look, I ran this when I was the head coach at Oklahoma State, or I ran this when I was the head coach, or I ran this when I was an assistant coach at South Carolina with Frank Martin, the spread motion offense. No, the floor is completely spaced. And he went international with his recruiting and lost some players, lost some really, really good players. Terrence Shannon, terrific player. And their team is outstanding. I think they could win it all. I really believe that. I'm not trying to overreact here, but I think there's a tier in the Big Ten right now, and I'm looking at Michigan State, Michigan, and Illinois are in that top tier for me. And don't sleep on Nebraska, because somehow those guys are continuing to win games.
I think they're possibly the most complete team. I'm not against it. And what
in the entire country?
They might be. I mean, you just said they could win a national championship.
I do believe that.
They play defense and they score the ball. They're complete too. I mean, I think much like we talked about with Iowa State, they have a chance. What I love what Underwood has done, though, and to me, this is something that, if you have that pipeline internationally, if you can get the right kids, you're going to get skill set guys that you're not going to be able to get in the United States. They're not going to come to play in Illinois.
100%.
And it 100%. Really adds. Yeah, and it adds something, Jarrell, and I think he's figured that out. He's adapted to that.
So pretty much the way that I felt about Iowa State, that's how you feel
about Illinois. Yeah.
and I think, Matt, I think you made a great point. You do got to give Coach Underwood some credit. I've watched it because it's another school where we had quite a couple kids down that way as well too. So I paid close attention to him, and we kind of get a chance to get out and see some games as well too. But he's turned over completely. I feel like almost even a little bit of the culture of their team and kind of the guys that they were going after and the makeup of their team as well too. I think it's a step too far, and I do think it's an overreaction to be shooing them in for a Final Four or a national title just yet. I do think they have some holes, but I'll say this: they're definitely one of the most complete offensive teams in the country.
Yes.
They run a ton of good stuff. They check all of the boxes. They can space the floor. They can shoot from multiple positions. They got good guard play. The only thing that scares me about them a little bit is I feel like they could be a little bit defensively challenged at times. Maybe not as physical as they used to be. And I'll just say this because I know that was like one of his things, and I kind of like the slogan or what he used to call them. Like he wanted everyday guys. These ain't everyday guys. I wouldn't say that. Some of these, some of the talent that he has, these is once a year guys. Once in a lifetime guys. So it's like it's a little bit different from what he's done, but he hasn't been, to his credit, he hasn't been too big or stuck in his ways or egotistical about just what he likes to do as a coach to kind of change with the times. And, like you said, if you could dip into that European pond, I know from experience too, just playing overseas as well for some years, it's like they have a different regimen. Those guys are a lot more skilled traditionally than a lot of our guys that come out of high school around that time because they've been playing professional basketball since they were 12 or 13. Because, if you're a good young player, that's what you do. You get moved up and you playing with grown men from the time you're 14 years old on up. That comes with a different level of understanding the IQ and knowledge about the game and how to play the game than you'll ever get here in the United States. So they're definitely one of the best offensive teams in the country.
Jarrell, and to that point, with Coach Underwood, he used to run that spread motion offense where they used to set hammer screens at the elbow and everything, and the floor was kind of congested. Right? They ran it because I remember when he was an assistant at South Carolina, I was an assistant at the University of Florida, and I remember scouting against it. And it's okay, the floor is kind of congested. We have to guard this way. And then he took it with him as a head coach. And now the floor is completely spaced. He's got 5 guys out on the break. He's evolved. And he's not set in his ways of this is how we're doing things. We're only going to play this way. That, to me, is the most impressive thing. It's you know what? Hey, man, college basketball is different. I got to adapt as a head coach. I got to do things differently. And that's what he's doing on the offensive end of the floor. That is so impressive. And I give him credit to not be set in your ways. We're only going to do things this way because this is how I've always done it. This is how I've learned. This is what we're going to do on the off. I mean, it's fun to watch, and they are a fun team to watch how they play the game of basketball.
I give his athletic director. Go ahead, Jarrell.
No, I was just saying he's adapting, so I'll give him credit. Yeah. He's not bitching and complaining about things changing.
No,
he's changing with it. He's changing with it.
And I give his AD, Josh Whitman, a lot of credit because Whitman has definitely committed to this guy and given him what he needed. I mean, his NIL's good. His facilities were improved in a big way. So he has been, and he got there and he offered him, I think the biggest thing he did when he got the job, he offered him $1 million more than Lovie Smith was making, the football coach. And that let him know that they're going to be into this thing. And Illinois certainly has changed their program around.